On the profile interview segment this week, I will be speaking with some Labour leaders who have signified interest to run for a political office come 2019. Join me. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Right now, we are talking about Labour and politics, and we know that about 3 Labour leaders have actually signified interest in vying for political office come 2019. Yours is Imo State. Can you tell us why you want to be the next governor of Imo State?
Very, very interesting. Generally speaking, you discover that there's a lot of misgovernance across the states of the Federation. I will tell you that governance has collapsed, and the worst hit happened to be the workers. The workers, the pensioners, the masses, the artisans are the people that are under severe attack, by people who hitherto now didn't have any pedigree in social service and in service to the community. Now, some of us have reviewed this, and we have remained at the saddle, protesting, receiving tear gas, going on strike, and that has not brought any solution to it. Now, we believe, those of us showing interest now, we have looked at our background and the background of those occupying those seats today, and we believe and we are convinced that we can do it better. And we can serve the interests of the workers, we can serve the interests of the masses, more than the people there. And we have the capacity to manage both human and material resources better than those there. And if we continue to be passive in political activities in this country, the mass of the people will continue to suffer. When you look at some of the people occupying those offices that don't have the interest of even the country, and by the time you take them further, you see all the struggles for the enthronement of democracy or good governance in the country, those people, their names were not there. And suddenly they occupy those positions, and that is why we are passing through what we are passing currently. So we felt we should come in and effect changes.
So would you say that with this movement, because I know you, Comrade Boboy Kagama, and Comrade Issa Aremu has actually signified interest, and I know that probably you might have more as the dates draws closer. So would you say that Labour leaders in Nigeria are now becoming more political conscious?
Well, from inception, there's a thin line between Labour and politics. From inception, the political independence of Nigeria wouldn't have been possible without Michael Imodo. Zik and his group tried everything, until they brought them in, and they participated. And from that time till now, Labour leaders have been involved in politics. Some of them very passive, some of them very active. Now, if you look at the fact that maybe one of us, Adams Oshomole was a governor of a state, and very many others, not pronounced, were either governors in the Senate, in whatever, you will agree that it has been there. But except that because of our background and because of the cost implication of going into politics, those of us who have the background in Labour are not money men. But we have the numbers, we have the people. So if we're able to galvanize those people, and if the political parties, which are, some of them are bourgeois parties, decide to identify with such people, such offices could be won. And because we have a constituency and we have a background, that constituency will look up to us to say, when you were there, you didn't do anything. And that will haunt you until you leave office. But when people don't have background, they don't have constituency, it becomes a problem.
Okay, this takes me to the issue of reclaiming Labour Party, because we know that the Labour Party, according to many people, has been hijacked. So if we know that workers are becoming political conscious, don't you think it's high time that that Labour reclaims Labour Party?
Yeah, but we see, I used to be the immediate past chairman of the political commission of the NLC then, when I was deputy president. And then I made moves, and I discovered there were differences, there were problems. Now, there are two classes of people in Labour Party. As a political party, every Nigerian has the right to be a member of that party. Now, then there they converge with Labour people. You see, you have two stock to manage. Then I issued a letter, a circular to all state councils of the NLC, to form chapters in all local government workers everywhere of the Labour Party. And I wrote a formal letter to the Labour Party to release in the first batch 3 million cards, which we are going to give to workers. Now, they misunderstood it. Now, if that had happened then, by now we could have institutionalized labor. You could have made the workers to buy into the party, and then play a role with the other career politicians. Now, I don't think that the issue of taking over the Labour Party is to make it a labor union.
Okay.
Because as a political party,
it has to be
fine. So, but I think there is need for synergy, between the warring factions to bring them together to know that the interests of labor must be protected here, and that we can't behave like other parties. And Labour Party, among others, must be ideological.
So right now, as someone who is interested in the governorship seats in Imo State, and as a Labour leader, as an activist, what do you think stands you out from other candidates, and what should workers or maybe the people of Imo State be expecting from your leadership? What are your blueprints?
Well, one thing that is clear is that I am not an unknown quantity in Nigeria today. I have been tested, and tested by the most critical sector, in the society, the workers. Now, if I have been tested and then I'm still standing, it then means that what we have done that kept us moving, all those things we have been criticizing, this is the time to put it into practice. And in terms of credibility, in terms of pedigree, and I add, in terms of qualification, in all ramification, in terms of age, in terms of exposure, in terms of management of human and material resources from where we are coming. If you have any of the serving governors now and those intending to serve that have done better than us, and that are open to public scrutiny, then you can put us into the balance, in the balance and weigh. But if it's not, we can't continue to be passive and allow those people, to drive us wrongly.
So should we be maybe expecting a form of debate anytime from now?
Now, you see, if the election is to be issue-based, then some of us will be happy. But we have realized that in Nigeria, politicians don't come out for debate, and that makes it difficult.
But do you think that those are some of the things that should...
No, I think those are things that are required in a democracy. People would like to know who you are. People would like to know where you are coming from and where you are going. Now, anybody who is not ready to disclose all this, to give full disclosure, should have no business coming out for public office.
It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
The conversation continues in a moment. It's good to have you on the program.
My pleasure, Sharon.
A lot is happening in the labor sector and also in the political circle, and we'll be focusing on labor and politics.
Yeah.
Right now as we speak, I know that Comrade Issa Aremu, Comrade Joe Ajero, and you, Comrade Boboy Kagama, has actually signified interest to run. And for you, it's Taraba State. Can you give us reasons why we're having labor leaders and maybe more labor leaders interested in politics?
Well, thank you very much. The reasons are very, very obvious. Labor leaders are friends to masses. Labor leaders are people who are out to defend the defenseless. Labor leaders are out for equity and justice. What we are having in our respective states are sorry stories to be told, because particularly my state, since the creation of the state to date, only few governors have been able to put certain infrastructure in place that will be beneficial to the citizens. This current dispensation is the worst. No single project has been commissioned. Workers' salaries are not being paid. Hospitals are in their sorry states. Youths don't have employment. And our infrastructure development is next to nothing. The few contracts that were awarded are over-invoiced, terribly over-invoiced. People are only out to make money without thinking about even their last days on earth. So the reasons is very, very clear. We have the issues of insecurity. We have the issues of people bringing in sentiments of religion, tribal, and regional sentiments within a very small state like Taraba. So the voice of reasons have made a clarion call upon me that, look, with your background as a trade unionist, you don't have foes. Yours is work, organize to ensure that people live in peace, people see development, because religion has no, hunger. The hunger you have in your stomach does not have religion. It doesn't have tribe. The sickness you have in you does not have religion. It does not have tribe. When they are sending money from Abuja through the Federation account, it doesn't have religion. It doesn't have tribe. The only binding force is the Nigerian Constitution. And the Nigerian Constitution says, be fair. Govern people with the fear of God. You have taken an oath of office, oath of allegiance to our country, yet you don't abide by these oaths.
With your experience as a trade unionist, what do you think stands you out from the rest that might want to vie for this same office, which is being the next governor of Taraba State?
Well, I have risen from the rank of a town planning officer 1 to director town planning services, and in the state. I have interacted with all shades of opinion. I know people in the state, I know how government is run, I know what and where the leakages are. And I have an experience starting from below the ladder to the top of the ladder in the trade union cycle. I have traveled all over the world. I have seen what it is to deliver service. I have seen what it is to have empathy for people. I have seen what it is to defend the right of my citizens. So with this kind of a background, we strongly feel that we can deliver same to Taraba electorates. And we strongly believe that we have the requisite qualification, the experience to give them what they want. Because now, more than ever before, is the period for us to harness our God-given resources in the state. Taraba State can survive without even the federation account allocations. We have abundant land for agriculture. We have abundant solid mineral resources. We have abundant tourism potentials. And above all, we have suitable weather. And we have wonderful people that are educated that, when properly guided, can produce results.
So you're assuring us that the labor movement is going to deliver in time?
By God's grace.
Okay, going back to labor and politics, I'd like to ask you, from your own experience, how would you rate the social situation in your state? And also, I'm also concerned about Labour Party. We know that Labour Party used to be the party for labor leaders. So I'd like to ask, any plans to reclaim this party?
Well, my state is bedeviled with social problems, particularly insecurity, sentiment imposed by the current government in the state by way of trying to instill fear in the citizenry. But we are saying that they are kidding. Because when people like us come on board, we look into their faces and tell them, hey, you are kidding. You either do service or give way to people that can render service to the people. You either provide security, you cannot yourself, an insecure person, or somebody that is encouraging insecurity, tell lies, deceive the citizens that you are trying to provide security. Then on the issue of our Labour Party, we are trying our best to make sure that we reclaim that party. There is a court ruling that has said the current leadership of the party is not the current leadership. We have protested to INEC, and we're pretty sure INEC should be able to read what the court judgment is all about. INEC to act accordingly to ensure that we, the labor movement, and our partners, our social partners, the civil society organizations come together, reclaim our party, and ensure that we deliver service to Nigerians by way of our principles, our philosophies, and our tradition of an injury to one is an injury to all.
Okay, trying to wrap up this conversation and the movement towards ensuring that Labour has Taraba. For me, I've learned two things from you, the land and the tourism aspect, that is agriculture and tourism. Are these some of the things you intend to do if you're given the ticket to run and probably win the election?
Obviously, I want to put more attention on harnessing our God-given resources. I'm putting less attention on our proceeds from the federation account. If our proceeds from our internally generated revenue can pay salaries, we only use our proceeds from the federation account for projects. That is going to be the focus of our administration if given the opportunity to serve our people. Then we make sure that we unite the people. We make sure that we develop our educational sector, health sector, infrastructure, and ensure that we empower our youth and women. Make sure that we guide our children, give them sound education, and to revamp our civil service. Those are key.
It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the program.
Yeah, Sharon, thank you very much.
A lot seems to be happening in the labor and politics scene. I've spoken to Comrade Kaigama, I've spoken to Comrade Joe Adero, and now I'm speaking with you. And I would like to ask you, why have you indicated interest to join the race and probably be the next governor of Kwara State?
Yeah, God willing, and thanks for the best wishes which you have expressed. Yes, it's true that some of us are now taking the challenge of going into politics, but it's nothing new. It's part of the heritage of the labor movement. Don't forget that even the founding father of the labor movement in this country, Michael Imudu, was politically engaged. The first Labour Party was actually formed in 1950, as far back as that. And our founding fathers and mothers realized that, yes, you can do union struggles, but the real sustainable struggle that will help the working people is that they must also control the political power, because power is about allocation of resources, and they reflect your class interests. So if the working people are also in power, they can reflect resources to really address their plight within the polity. So what I'm saying here is that if you check the record during the Second Republic, unionists were involved in politics. We actually had in my union, the founding president of this union, the old House Union, that's Abutu, Alhaji Abutu, which actually became a representative in the House of Rep of the Second Republic. May so rest in peace, is dead now. You also know recent time, Comrade Adams Shomole, two-time governor of the Edo State, and he made a remarkable impact in the life of with working people and citizens of Edo. You know, he reinvented education. Not only that, he paid above minimum wage. You know, so you also have Honorable Aminu Suleiman from my union, who's currently in the 8th Assembly of the House of Reps. So we can be on and on. I mean, Apatasin, Comrade Apatasin, is a member of House of Rep. He came from Nopeng. He used to be the president of Petroleum Workers Union. Comrade Akinlaja, you know, used to be the general secretary of that great union, Petroleum Workers Union. So what I'm saying is that our involvement in politics now is part of that heritage of unions or unionists to be involved in political process. And let me put it this way, I'm very sure this applies to my colleagues too that you have mentioned. We see our involvement in politics of Kwara as continuation of our union work. You know, in fact, it's union struggle in another means. What do I mean? What do you struggle for in the union? It's the welfare of the working people, welfare of the working man and woman, you know, through wage improvement, you know, housing allowances, maternity for the women, health insurance for all our workers, you know. Now, what does the Constitution say? It says the primary purpose of governance is the welfare and security of the citizens. So what I'm saying is that my involvement in politics will be continuation of the same union struggle.
So now you've spoken so much about the reason why you've decided to indicate interest for running for political office in Kwara. Moving forward, you've mentioned some people's name during your conversation that are actually trade unionists that ventured into politics. But for me, as a young person in the labor circle, I think there was a break. So I would like to ask you, why the break and why is the movement coming up once again?
Well, I'm not sure whether there has been a break, but I mean, I've told you of as late as Second Republic, even First Republic, we had some of the unionists who engaged in politics. But I think there has been break, not just for unionists in politics, but for credible people in politics, because we had a long period of military rule, you know, in which our involvement in politics was thwarted by military dictatorship. In fact, we're actually fighting to defend our unions. Don't forget that NSC was dissolved in 1988 by Ibrahim Babangida administration. Later on, in 1993, Abacha also dissolved Nigeria Labour Congress, and then that was a period of endless transition program. But even at that period, Labour was actively involved. I mean, the second Labour Party came up in 1989, and we were about to register those parties among the 10 top political parties that were supposed to be registered until Babangida cancelled it. So what I'm saying is that even that time, you have Comrade Esozedi Jofo of Civil Service Technical at that time, who was the secretary. Then Absalam, you know, was also the secretary. I'm talking of Esozedi was the chairman, you know, and they are still very well alive now. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm not sure the break is only for us. It's because of distortion of democratic process by the military. But we've also always been involved, but better late than never that we're now active to be involved back again.
So are you now saying now that globally, people involved in activism actually perform better in governance?
Oh, definitely. I mean, even those that I give you an example, you will know that Comrade Akinlaja in the House of Reps, I mean, fantastic unionist with a lot of proverbs. He has not been warming seat in this 8th Assembly. Very vocal and speaking for his constituency. Comrade Aminu also, Suleiman, the same thing, very active. But let me even go to South Africa. Today, South Africa is the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, was the pioneer general secretary of National Union of Mine Workers, which belongs to my Industrial Global Union. Secondly, he was the first general secretary of COSATU, which is the Council of South African Trade Unions, which is like NSC. Today, he has become the president of South Africa. Then you also know Brazil, where Lula, Silva Lula, fantastic man, you know, who became the president, was just a cobbler, factory worker. He became the president of Brazil, and he transformed Brazil in a way that it took about 50 to 80 million poor people out of poverty. So what I'm saying is it's been tested over the years that, you know, politics for union is continuation of the same union struggle. And we mean well, you know, it's about issues, and that's the point I'm also raising about Kwara State. God willing, we bring issues to the table.
It's good to have you on the program, sir.
It's a pleasure, Sharon.
It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember, labor creates wealth.